Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Caitlin from Leave Me Alone Plants, and today we are going to be talking about the Philodendron Black Cardinal. Okay, at least that's what I think this plant is. So disclaimer right up front, take a look, let me know what you think down in the comment section below if you are a plant connoisseur and love to index and ID different plants. This plant was sold to me as a Black Cardinal, however, looking at it and looking at pictures online, I really feel like this is potentially a Philodendron Bloody Mary. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm crazy. Let me know what you think. The leaves on this one are very, very long and narrow, a little more similar to what you see in the type of that. The only thing is it doesn't have the lobing back here, which makes me think maybe it's not. Really not sure. With that said, either way, whether it is the Black Cardinal or the Bloody Mary, both of them are going to be nearly identical in terms of care requirements. Now to take that a step further, a couple months back, well, like almost a year back actually, I did a video on the Philodendron Black Cardinal in Prince of Orange. Once again, those plants are going to be nearly identical care requirements. The only reason I want to do a whole separate video today, primarily is just because I know for myself when I was new to plants and I would be Googling videos on the plants, if the exact plant didn't come up, I didn't necessarily have the know enough back then to know that like certain plants might have the exact same care requirements and to look for those. So, in case perhaps you're new to plants and didn't know that certain ones are going to be very, very similar in care, first of all, now you know, and second of all, I just want to make a video for those people. So if you are those people, hello, hi, how are you? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, and might as well hit that like button while you're at it, just saying. Anyway, whether you have one of these plants, be it the Black Cardinal or Bloody Mary, or if you're just looking to get one of these plants, then keep on watching and we're going to get into how to keep it happy and healthy. So as you know, old habits die hard, and my very favorite way to start any video is talking about where it comes from and how that's going to impact the care that we give it. So these plants are native to South America. They're going to be found in more tropical environments and going to be native to environments that are going to be really warm, a little more on the humid side, and overall, just what you think of when you think of tropical. With that said, don't let the fact that it's from a tropical environment scare you away. Overall, I think philodendrons are one of the easiest plants to care for, at least in my opinion. If you have something like a Philodendron Brazil, oh my god, one of my favorite plants of all time, or like a heartleaf philodendron, one of those ones that kind of vines over and trails down. Okay, you guys, real quick editor's note right here. You might notice throughout the course of this video, there are occasional cuts every time I say the word philodendron. That is because right before filming this video, I happened to be watching other people's videos on philodendrons. Only the entire time in all their videos, they kept calling them philodendrons, and I couldn't get it out of my head. Am I going crazy? Is that how you say it? Have I been saying it wrong this whole time? Also, side thought, how crispy is this audio right now from my iPhone? Okay, anyway, back to the video. This is going to be different from that plant in the sense that it's called a self-heading plant. And basically what that means is you're just going to have one central stalk and the plant grows up from there. It's not going to vine down, it's not going to have like all these different stems coming off of it. It kind of is just primarily that one stalk. Sometimes they can split into like multiple, they can get a little on the bushy side, but yeah, that's going to be a difference that you see with those versus some of those other trailing philodendrons. Now, of course, this little guy I got here is a little baby, but they can get rather large. In fact, they can get about 3 feet tall, and like I said, they can get very, very wide. So don't let the size of this one fool you. They definitely can be a large, large plant in your collection. Now with that said, thinking about the growth rate of these plants, it's really going to vary by light. So if you're giving it more light, they can grow pretty fast. I know my Macaulay's finale, which again is going to be very similar to these plants, I have it in a very bright indirect light and it grows pretty fast. However, in general, if you give it more of a moderate or a lower light setting, these are going to be a little on the slower side. So with that said, if you are looking for a gigantic 3 foot tall plant, not that you can't get one of these little ones and eventually have it get bigger, but with that said, if you're kind of aiming for that big plant to start with, I would recommend buying instead of waiting for it to grow up, just because they can take a little while to get to maturity. So that kind of brings us into lighting, and what type of lighting is this plant going to like? Like so many of the plants that we talk here, and just basically, every plant in general, it's going to like a bright indirect light. Of course it is. With that said, they can definitely still survive, I don't know if I would go as far to say thrive, but they can certainly still survive in a moderate or a lower lighting setting. As I mentioned before, you're just not going to see them grow as fast, which can be, I know, a little disappointing for some people, especially if you only have a couple plants. Additionally, some things that you might notice if you are giving it lower light is that your plants can get leggy. So basically you're just going to see longer stems, and it's going to get leggy, or I don't know any better way to describe it than leggy. But yeah, that's one scenario that you could see happen. Conversely, one of the really cool characteristics of this plant, of course, if it's a black cardinal, then this will be the exact pattern it goes through, but the leaves, when they come in, what's going to happen, and I actually have one coming in right here, so maybe this will be our final way to identify, but they're going to start out, they're going to be this like darkish burgundy color, and then they're going to transition to this gorgeous, deep, almost black color, and then finally they'll morph back into kind of this hunter green color. With all that said, if it's not getting enough light, what you may find is that just by default your leaves are kind of always green. And if that is the case and you really are looking to see that leaf go through that kind of transition of all those different colors, then once again I do recommend bumping up that light so that it can you know, kind of do its thing over there. Now, I said this in the video that I did for the Macaulay's Finale and Prince of Orange, but unfortunately, like I had just gone through with these leaves, they do over time as they age transition to be different colors from red to black to green. There really isn't any way to just have these be completely black forever. Now, I know in the world of like Instagram and Photoshop and all those things, occasionally online you'll see pictures and it will look like completely black or way darker than what maybe you're seeing here. And not to say 100%, but you know, as we all know here, people do like to do a little enhancing and a little photoshopping on their pictures sometimes before posting them to the internet. So if you're getting frustrated that yours does not look like that, you know, again, not to say that everybody on the internet is photoshopping their plants to look different, but just set your expectations that it probably is not going to just be like a pure black plant, like something like a Raven ZZ. But okay, now that we've talked through kind of just lighting and color and all that good stuff, let's get into watering. So despite being from more of a tropical setting, these guys actually do not like to sit in like really standing water. I have mine personally in a really, really well draining soil. Of course, there is drainage holes in the bottom of this, and you're gonna want that soil, you know, of course, go in and water it. I water mine about like once every week and a half, but of course, while you're going to want to give it water, don't let that water be just sitting in there and stagnating in there. They can definitely kind of just rot out from there, so good thing to keep in mind with your watering. As for humidity, of course, as we had mentioned in the beginning of this video, they are native to a little more of a humid environment. However, I personally have not noticed any ill effects from, you know, having a lower humidity. And for those of you, once again, who are new here, I live in the desert right here in Arizona, so I certainly have quite a low humidity compared to like basically everyone. So if I can, you know, have it survive in my house without humidity, I'm certain that it will do well for you. The one caveat that I will say to philodendrons and having low humidity in your house, unfortunately, does come to when they're unraveling their leaves. I find for me that my philodendron leaves take so long to unravel, and unfortunately they do get stuck sometimes. I did a little digging into this, and it turns out that in ideal conditions, your philodendron does want between 50 and 75% humidity. So if you're having that problem like me, bumping it up a little, even if it's just around the specific plant with like a humidity tray or a pebble tray, can definitely help out if you're having that problem as well. Again, thinking back to where they're native to, they are traditionally going to be somewhere warm, so not quite as warm as Arizona, but they do like to be somewhere in that neighborhood of like 65 to 80 degrees. If you're doing all these things for your plant and you're just finding that it's not very healthy and it's not doing well for you, be sure that your plant's not in a drafty area. There's no way for you to tell here, but I actually have an air vent that is right in that back corner, and certain plants, they just cannot survive there for me. So if you have areas like that in your house, either by a window that are kind of drafty or by an air vent, try moving this one away from it, because that could be something that is causing your plant to you know, just kind of decline on you. Now, primarily, I overall love this plant, but one negative about philodendrons, a lot of them in general, but particularly this one, they can be toxic, and you know, even if you're handling them and kind of get their juices on your hands, they can cause you to break out into rashes and things like that. So if you have kids or pets or, you know, whatever else is crawling around your house, perhaps keep them away. On the flip side of that, in terms of pests, I know some people talk about they have issues with these getting spider mites. Personally, across all my philodendrons, I have never once had them have an issue with pests. They seem to do really well for me. If you do live somewhere where you just are getting nonstop pests and you're worried about it, just being sure that you kind of get into all these nooks and crannies when you're watering it and like rinse it out. They're really good. Can definitely help, particularly with things with spider mites. And of course, just being diligent, checking out your plants, making sure that they're looking handsome. And I always recommend flipping over and looking at the underside of the plants. To me, that is like the place that all the pests typically like to hide on my plants. So I just give a little peek under there and make sure that we're all good. Finally, as you can see, the leaves on this guy right now, at least I hope you can see, are nice and shiny. But with that said, with them kind of being these big panels that stick out, I do like to go in and, this is probably bad, you should probably use a dust cloth, but I literally just take my finger and like pull all the dust off of there, and what that is going to allow is just for the plant to capture more light and make sure all that gunk is not sitting on there and, preventing light from getting into it. Alright, well that is basically everything that I had to talk about for this plant, but as always, if you guys have questions, which you always do, drop them in the comment section down below and I will do my very best to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Furthermore, if you are interested in one of these plants or having a hard time finding one, we actually just started getting these in at my shop, so be sure to check out the links down below and we will get you hooked up with your very own Black Cardinal. Thank you guys so much for sticking around until the end of this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.